NitPix. There's something that ain't right about Bright. Everyone's noticed it, and everyone's talking about it. So I figured I'd jump on the gravy train bandwagon and kick this dead horse's head in until I break the skin on my big toe and infect myself with horse AIDS. Now on paper, Bright seems like it could be pretty good. It's written by Max Landis, who may have been behind some duds, but is also the mind of one of my favourite shows, Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency. David Ayer directed it, who sure made Suicide Squad, but he also did End of Watch, and that's a good movie. And that had cops in it too. And the concept as a whole seemed pretty original and out there. So despite them casting Will Smith, a relic of the 90s, Bright was looking like a good time, no alcohol required. Then I saw the movie. Then Netflix fucked up. Bright is set in a world where classical fantasy melds together with post-Trump America, with all the magical races trying to coexist through a hierarchical system of oppression. You've got elves, orcs, and Mexicans, with elves being at the top of the socio-economic ladder and orcs at the bottom. All the races have prejudices and unfair stereotypes attached to them, and they just can't seem to get along. With that in mind, you'd think this film would be allegorical for the current race issues in the Western world that are so often talked about. And to be honest, I felt a certain degree of trepidation as I toyed around with making a video on this film, but any concerns I had were quickly dissipated, because this film isn't about racism. This film is a generic Hollywood action film, and if you've seen one, you've seen all of them. Except this one has Shrek people in it.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me.
Hey now, you're an all-star, get your game on, go.
It does open with a promising start. The dialogue between Jacoby and Will Smith in a cop costume is well written, as Jacoby's character is likeable and fun, and the world around them seems brimming with well thought out lore that you just can't wait to have fleshed out to you. Jacoby is a fish out of water. He's the first orc police officer in LA ever, and no one thinks that's a good idea because everyone's racist against orcs. So if you enjoyed Zootopia, a kids film which tackled racism a lot better than this film, you'd probably enjoy the opening of Bright. But the real meat of the movie begins with the introduction of a MacGuffin, which in this case is a magic wand that can do anything but can only be held by Brights, and if you aren't a Bright, you just explode. Due to how potent the MacGuffin is, big nasty people want it, meaning our characters have to defend the wand from all the bad people by shooting them in the fucking face.
10 out of 10 police work, guys!
There is evil on all fronts. A shady elf cult that want to use the wand to resurrect a dark and evil demon lord, or something. Mexicans who want to use the wand for money, and a group of pissed off orcs who want to use the wand for some reason. Will our heroes be able to stop the resurrection of the Dark Lord and survive this intense onslaught, as well as learn to get along in the process? See, I don't even need to put a spoiler warning here, because if you know movies in any way, you already know exactly how this fucking movie ends. They manage to defeat the evil elves, and Will Smith turns out to be a Bright all along. Who'd have thought? Everyone. Because they told us 20 minutes into the film.
Sorsenum, sorhun, vi panacha, kin ha bemfa, buddy.
And just like Zootopia, a film made for tiny babies, at the end of the film, Jacoby earns the respect of the people around him and gets a medal for bravery. That's the problem with Bright. Everyone's seen this film. I could talk about how they arrest a man with a sword who talks about a prophecy, and then coincidentally they immediately stumble into the war that he's talking about. Or I could talk about how convenient it is that they keep running into the very people that want to kill them, even though there is no way that they could know where they would be. Or I could talk about how tonally strange it is that in a film with violence, guns and swearing, that Jacoby gets magically brought back to life. But the fundamental core problem with Bright is that it's an original world with an unoriginal story, with really bad. The main character of Bright is Will Smith. It's not Daryl Ward, it's Will Smith, because Will Smith doesn't seem to play the character that was written for him. From the looks of how Daryl Ward was written, his character is supposed to be an arsehole by-the-books cop that mostly keeps to himself and doesn't want much attention. But Will Smith plays the character as if he's on the red carpet, being interviewed for his next film. He's incredibly charismatic, he's filled with fake smiles and one-liners. Some of the lines have been definitely confirmed as ad-libbed by Smith, and that really doesn't surprise me at all, because when he tells Jacoby that no one likes him, it seems a bit strange and out of character. He's great with his wife and daughter, and he seems to be chummy with the other officers. What is there to dislike about this man? The answer is nothing. All his decisions are morally right, he preaches equality to his daughter, and he's the best darn shooter in the galaxy. He's funny with his quips, he gets with Princess Leia, and he makes a Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Oh fuck, that's Han Solo. Oh fuck, I really fucked up here. I've made a huge mistake. I've just been watching a lot of Star Wars. Sorry, there are no excuses. I don't deserve you. I don't deserve your views. It's all fake. Everyone on here's fake. The Earth is a flat dish-shaped dome and I feel empty inside. The other character is Jacoby, who is the most coherent character and is the best thing about this film. But he's not great. The character is well performed by Joel Edgerton, who's mostly known for being in Star Wars. Oh fuck! But generally, Jacoby is a likeable and fun character who I wish was playing off anyone other than Will Smith. He does have some very cheesy dialogue, but Joel's working with the best he's got while being submerged under ridiculous looking prosthetics, so gotta give him a gold star for that. I find it strange that they didn't make him the protagonist, as he definitely has a lot more going on narratively than Will Smith. Then you've got Chicken Tikka Masala, the elf character, who's your standard whimsical pixie girl who acts like a 12-year-old stuck in a 20-year-old's body. I have to assume she has some kind of disorder, because none of the other elves act like this. She doesn't say anything until 30 minutes before the film ends because she didn't know if she could trust the people risking their lives to protect her. Or maybe it's because the script didn't want the protagonist to know anything about what was happening around them and felt this was the right time to give exposition. She's also a bright and can use the wand at any time but chooses not to, for some reason, which even Will Smith is pissed off about. And I don't want to hear any shit about her draining her energy, because she clearly uses it to kill all those other people in the house before, and she seems fine. She doesn't seem drained at all. So don't give me that shit. I don't want any of that. Despite being brave and courageous enough to kill all these people and steal the wand from her sister, she needs protecting for the entire film and seems very much out of it throughout the whole thing, which doesn't make any sense. You know what? She doesn't really have a character. She's about as significant as the wand itself, but for some reason, the film thinks we care about her enough to give a shit that she's not dead at the end. It's grasping at straws to think that Will Smith and Jacoby have a real relationship where they care about each other, let alone Will Smith and Chicken Tikka. The villains in this story only serve to further emphasize how detached this film is from any form of moral social message that it may have been trying to aim for. We initially see what seems to be the establishing of nuanced characters with issues. Will Smith has certain prejudices against orcs and elves, Jacoby might have a deeper loyalty to his clan than he's letting on, and the police officer's concern over the hiring of an orc could actually be warranted. However, any nuance that may exist is quickly swept aside once the film establishes an all-evil throat-slitting elf cult that are trying to get a weapon of mass destruction. The film was no longer about the evils that live within each of us, and instead became about our all-good heroes stopping the all-bad villains. I mean, where are the greys here? How are these in any way real characters? They are literally trying to raise a Dark Lord! The film seems to dig this hole even deeper once we are introduced to the Mexican cartel, who also want the wand. I feel a riskier film may have tried to delve into the actual struggles which small minority communities face, and maybe tackle elements of gang crime and violence with a degree of intelligence. But nope, they literally just make them act like assholes, so Will Smith is justified when he guns down a bunch of poor Mexican people for about 20 minutes of the film's runtime. Ultimately, Bright seemed to push itself as an alternative to the conventional blockbuster, something that would actually tackle interesting themes and ideas. But when you look under the paintwork, what you end up discovering is this film just comes across as a rather regressive generic action film that couldn't make up its mind about what it really wanted to be, gave up and gave us the exact same tropes that we've had for years, only now the insensitivity is clearer than ever because it seems to think it is sensitive. Tikka is a sexualized pixie girl, a complete encompassing of the damsel in distress, who's in desperate need of a strong, burly man to protect her. Will Smith is an unemotional, masculine, quippy psychopath we've all seen before, and Jacoby spends the entire film learning how to eradicate any form of sensitivity, and sadly seems to look up to Will Smith's unfeeling demeanor. Netflix, as a form of new media, is in a position to make content in which it can actually challenge established cinematic and television conventions, as it has a number of times. But this was the biggest film it has done yet, intended to rival the box office with big names and flashy lights, but instead of rival it, it just emulated it, which left me ending the film with a bad taste in my mouth. There are films in which these tropes exist and they work well, but at this point it just feels uninspired and frankly, the action sequences are absolute trash. But at least the film told us racism is bad. But what did you think of Bright? Did it brighten up your dark soul? Let me know in the comments. If you want to hear me talk about a film I do like, check out my video on The Evil Within. Also make sure to subscribe for more reviews like this, and if you are subbed, you might be wondering where the fuck my 13 Reasons Why video went. Well, you'd know where it went if you had a cheeky look at my community tab. I'll be posting updates in there, so check it out. Bet you didn't know I had a second channel? Wow, look at that. So much content. Oh boy. 2018 is our year, guys. Let's do it. Fuck yeah. I'd also like to give a special thanks to my Patreons for making this video possible. I hope you have a fucking brilliant January. I've got so much shit lined up. Can't wait to blow up your subscription boxes with quality NitPix content. Love you. Bye.